There I was, little 11-year-old me, only a fifth grader, going through the same process once again. In another foreign country, in another different school, everything was so new and unfamiliar. I found myself in another strange classroom. But little did I know that in that very classroom was about to happen one thing that was going to change my life. This was no ordinary classroom, you see. This one was special in particular because its shelves were laden not with pens or pencils, but with paint pots, blotchy palettes, paintbrushes, and somewhere in the back of the class, leaning against the wall, wooden framed canvases, wrapped in superbly shiny plastic, waiting to be torn off. I calmed my excitement, however, as I was convinced that I was not going to be the one tearing that plastic off. So my face contorted in confusion when I saw my fellow classmates scramble to these materials I had perceived as forbidden and destined only for adults, because they were so glorious and otherworldly at the time. Next thing I know, I myself am being handed a legitimate canvas. Its coarse texture, a texture I thought only real artists were privy to, and a texture I'd only imagined before, feels thrilling under my fingertips. Its heavy wooden frame gives it such extraordinary weight, it makes it feel all the more real and exhilarating. By that time, I was surely grinning like a maniac. It felt and looked as if I had a hanger in my mouth, and I felt like bouncing and hopping around, but I didn't do that. Instead, I took in its slimy whiteness, unable to believe I was about to experience painting for the first time. It was time I materialized this euphoria feeling to my first assignment, of course, where I had settled on recreating David Hockney's splendid forestscape. This painting moved me in such a way that whenever I looked at it, I no longer heard the buzzing and the milling of the classroom. Instead, I felt as if I was transported right in that heart of that forest. Instead, I heard leaves rustling. I could almost feel a cool, humid breeze brushing past me, and it was all so beautifully complemented by these splendid, luscious colors. Now, you'll see here my first ever painting, quite clumsily done, and I'm proud of it. It is close to my heart. Because you see, that painting had definitely catered to my appeal to nature, and this is something that my current art is so determined by. I paint what I love. I paint things I wish to immortalize. I paint memories I wish to materialize, and I paint landscapes I wish would be my everyday reality. My way of painting is like keeping a diary, to which I collect memories, experiences, own personal moments of wonderment, and through which I also transfigure my emotions. And the most rewarding and satisfying part by far is being able to glance back at my paintings and to relive either the moment of creating or, again, a heartwarming moment in time. Whether it be a heartwarming moment in time or anything else, it helps me think back of my love of museums and exactly why I'm so fond and moved by them. You see, whenever I visit said museums, I don't merely look at canvases smeared with pretty colors. No, instead I take a deeper look within another person and within their soul as well. You see, on that color, paint does not just sit on it. Instead, I see culture. I may see different perspectives. I may see different viewpoints, narratives, or attitudes adopted, whether they be artistic or not. Now, take Jean's portrait of Mrs. Grant, for instance. Perhaps what lies in this painting is the artist's beauty and admiration that he found in his subject. But for me, when I see it, I feel as if I see it through my 11-year-old's eyes. It speaks to me, it has the same effect on me it had as the David Hockney painting. But instead of hearing the leaves rustling, I can almost feel Mrs. Grant's heavy, lavish velvet gown and her twinkling jewels on me. And whenever I see any piece of artwork for that matter, the same rush of excitement washes over me as the one that did when I first laid the brush on canvas. Now, If art has such a tremendously enriching effect on our lives, and since it opens our minds in an unparalleled way, I cannot help but ask myself, why does it not hold a more significant place in our day-to-day lives? Perhaps this is because it was not introduced to us as such. You see, it was not introduced to us as an intrinsic part of our society, as an intrinsic part of our well-being, as an intrinsic part of our society's well-being, and it was not introduced to us as the effective tool of communicating and connecting with others that it is. I firmly believe this could and should be rectified through a more well-balanced educational system, meaning an educational system which values the arts, as Sir Ken Robinson also once suggested. Consequently, meaning an educational system which does not label certain subjects as inferior. An educational system which does not judge students based on the subjects they prefer or perform well in. I realize it would be a long way before we regard our art as highly as we do mathematics or the exact sciences. But if we continue to compare maths to the detriment of art, then we will continue to produce generations whose self-expression is not as limitless and authentic as it need be, whose self-development is not as inventive as need be. We will continue to raise generations which will lack constructive recreational activities and instead turn to the infamous, mindless, endless scrolling, even substance abuse, just to name a few. And last but certainly not least, we will continue to produce generations which will feel the pressure to put society's expectations above their own dreams and joys. Now, right now, at this very moment, the road to eradicating all of this and achieving a more well-rounded educational system is unnecessarily long and bumpy. But I am more than happy and willing to do my part in inspiring people to discover this craft for their own and to urge our system and to urge those with any bit of power in this room today to strive for a world that is fueled by creativity and to actually embrace it and to strive for a more inclusive school curriculum. Because I would hate for current and future children to not be as fortunate as I was to have had a life-altering exposure to art. I know your heart is in it, now allow your brain to be in it as well. Thank you.